On Osrc News at 7, Ondo security agencies assure residents of safety, join forces to curb criminality. Tinubu orders ministers to give account of stewardship. Federal government disburses 32.8 billion naira for student loan. And from the foreign scene, world leaders seek elusive AI common ground at Paris Summit. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the news at 7 on OSRC television. My name is Oyewumi Ayinigbara. Security agencies in Ondo State have vowed to combat the growing menace of kidnapping and other criminal activities in the state. The renewed commitment by the agencies follows the rise in criminal activities in the state. The security outfits made case for the introduction of technology and effective tackling of insecurity across the state. Joy Pius now reports.
Kidnapping has become one of the most pressing security concerns in Nigeria, touching every corner of the country. The increasing influx of strange individuals into Ondo State has raised concerns, particularly across the borders and forest areas. This troubling situation, many believe, has contributed to a rise in criminal activities, including robbery and kidnapping in the state in recent times. As a way of curbing the menace, the Ondo State Police Command says all hands are on deck to address the situation. According to the Commissioner of Police, Wilfred Afolabi, the command has put in place several measures to ensure culprits are apprehended, while also improving in capacity building.
The one of kidnapping, the same way we are going about, smashing the syndicate involved, in the same way too we've deployed our men all out, to see how these culprits can be apprehended. And I can give you the assurance that it's just a matter of time. We will get them apprehended. Now, about what the command is doing. Some of the tactical teams have been regigged. New blood have been injected into the tactical teams so as to make them more effective and efficient. Also, in some of the states where they've recorded some successes, just yesterday, we gave a directive. We spoke to the CP, and we are sending our men there to acquire more knowledge, mainly on how to track down these bad boys involved in kidnapping activities. As I'm talking to you now, serious operations is ongoing, and we are not also relaxing. We are involved in engaging with citizens of the states through the community safety partnership. It's a forum created whereby members of the community will feel free to share ideas with us.
Also, the commander, Ondo State Security Network Agency, Amotekunko, Adetunji Adeleye, noted that the agency is collaborating with other security outfits to restore peace in the state.
The influx of strange people in our community, especially in the border areas and the forestry areas, had transited into increase in criminal activities, especially robbery and kidnapping within the state. We are working around the clock to with other security agencies to ensure that we restore peace and order back to the state.
The agencies advocated the need for the introduction of technology to tackle the spate of criminal activities across the state.
We are also putting pressure on stakeholders because this kidnapping incident, the crime of kidnapping has gone very sophisticated, and you need technology, to uncover and put an end to it.
Residents were urged to constantly provide useful information that could help apprehend culprits. Joy Pius, Osrc News.
President Bola Tinubu has ordered all ministers in his administration to give account of their stewardship to Nigerians with immediate effect. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris announced the presidential order at a news conference in Abuja. Idris said the briefing will serve as a platform for ministers to directly engage with Nigerians, highlight key developments in their respective ministries, and address public concerns. He added that ministers would also take turns weekly to address Nigerians as part of the ongoing ministerial press briefing. Citizens have raised concerns over the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, with many questioning whether the loans are genuinely accessible. With the assurances given regarding its legitimacy, many students worry that the loan could plunge fresh graduates into unimaginable debt. Blessing Obe has more on this report.
In July 2024, the federal government launched the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, under the Student Loan Act 2024, a policy designed to increase access to higher education by removing financial barriers to educational opportunities and academic pursuits. NELFund, established by the federal government, aims to provide financial assistance to students in public tertiary institutions by covering tuition and upkeeps. Reports from NELFund indicate that it has received over 360,000 student loan applications since inception, with over 32 billion naira disbursed. Despite its intended benefits, the student loan scheme has sparked widespread debate, with many expressing skepticism about the loan's legitimacy and doubting whether the loans are truly accessible. In response to these concerns, Dean of Student Affairs, Federal University of Technology, Akure, David Oke, affirmed that students are actively applying for and receiving the loans, countering claims that the initiative is non-functional.
Like here, the first disbursement was about 300 students. But in the second disbursement that we had over 1,300. So that shows a kind of a lot of improvement over the first disbursement. And after this second disbursement, I know a lot of students have been making effort because it has now dawned on them that this is a serious business, and students actually meant business, and those who are applying are actually getting the money. With what students, the kind of things that students are seeing, that those who are applying are actually getting the loan. The number of students taking the loan has increased seriously. So we have over 300 in the first tranche. Now we are talking about 1,000 plus in the second tranche. I don't know what the third tranche is going to look like, but I know it's going to be far in excess of 2,000. Because many of the students who are having challenges with financing their education are now seeing NELFund as a viable option now.
He encouraged students to explore this opportunity, highlighting that the loan scheme remains a viable financial support option for students who continue to experience financial struggles.
If we are having challenges with funding your education, this is a viable option for you. They may come here and we'll be telling them, although the system is not perfect, because of recent some students still approach me with the challenges they were facing on the platform. But this group of students were immediately referred to our computer resource center, who were able to sort whatever problem they were having on the platform for them. But obviously, the net fund is real.
Meanwhile, many students fear that this loan could have unintended consequences. A major concern is the potential burden it may place on early graduates, pushing them into unmanageable debt. To allay this fear, the managing director and CEO of NEL Fund, Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, stated that employers of graduates who benefited from student loans are responsible for ensuring repayment. He said employers must deduct 10% of the beneficiary's salary monthly and remit it to NEL Fund. Beneficiaries who are self-employed will handle their own repayment, while those who remain unemployed after NYSC are exempted. Blessing Ube, OSRC News.
Meanwhile, the federal government has disbursed 32.8 billion naira for student loans. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, announced the figure at a ministerial briefing in Abuja. Idris said out of 371,000 students who applied for the loan, no fewer than 192,000 have so far drawn down the loans worth 32.8 billion naira. According to the minister, the students were drawn from 150 tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The National University Commission has imposed a moratorium on the establishment of new private universities in Nigeria for 1 year, effective from February 10, 2025. The Commission is also in the process of reviewing the guidelines for the establishment of private universities in Nigeria to ensure that newly licensed institutions are well positioned to meet the challenges of the 21st century. NUC's Executive Secretary, Professor Abdullahi Ribadu, in a statement stated that the decision follows a directive from the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, to suspend further processing of all inactive applications, including those for private open universities. Ribadu, while announcing an upward review of the application forms and processing fees, disclosed that the fee for purchasing application forms for the establishment of a private university has been increased from 1 million to 5 million naira. Additionally, the processing fee for the application to establish a private university has been raised from 5 million to 25 million naira. The Commission noted that in an effort to reposition private universities in Nigeria to better meet the needs of the populace and enhance the coordination of the private university education subsector, it has identified the need to review the guidelines for establishing private universities. According to the NUC, the review aims to ensure that newly established private universities are well equipped to meet the challenges of the 21st century. At 7 after the break, world leaders seek elusive AI common ground at Paris Summit. Please to rejoin us for this and more. Thank you very much for rejoining us. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng, or follow us on Facebook at OSRC TV, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Ondo. An increasing accumulation of waste on some major roadsides in our Ondo state capital is now a great concern. This is complicated by the rise of unauthorized cart pushers who collect waste, dispose them improperly with its attendant environmental risk. Osrc's Abidemi Akinruntoye tells us more.
The growing issue of roadside waste has become a critical pollution challenge. This is because the private sector participants engaged by government to evacuate refuse in the interiors have abandoned the job. Residents now patronize cart pushers in disposing their domestic waste. Investigations reveals that the cart pushers collect at least 1,000 naira from each household in the affected areas to help dispose refuse. It was observed that rather than take the refuse to approved dump sites, the cart pushers dump them on the major road sites in the state capital. Visits to Obasanjo Way around Adesupa Hotel, Shagari Village, Akure Owo Expressway, among others, shows heaps of refuse. This situation, residents say, poses environmental threats. They express concerns about the development, citing severe impacts on environment, health, and overall well-being of people.
Anyway, something about this waste it causes a lot of diseases and also environmental pollution in this area. Smell here and there. Even those people living around this area, they always complain about the issue of the debt. I will just advise our government, the governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, the governor of the state, to just do something about the issue of the pollution and all this debt. They should help us to find a way forward here or everything else.
Ìjọba bá wa rí sí kó bá wa pa àwọn tó nílẹ̀ kàn kọ̀wé sí wọn náà bá ti nídìí àti kọ́ ilẹ̀ wọn kàn wà tí ṣe sí wọ́n ṣe ń dàdọ̀ sí síbẹ̀ yẹn ò dáa torí àsìkò òjò tá a wà yìí ó lágbára kágbára má lọ máa yọ̀yàn lẹ́nu òórùn ẹ̀ gan ò dáa.
The chairman, Waste Management Board, Mrs. Yinka Alabi, speaks on the development.
So I've said this several times that we have to move away from indiscriminate dumping of refuse. It is so unacceptable. Aesthetically looking, you'll see that it will affect our community. So we have our dump site at Akpomu. No drug pusher will collect your waste and take it to Akpomu to dump it. So definitely it will end up on the road. And that has implication to all of us. And we are not praying for diseases. We are not praying for, the moment that happens, there will be pollution. It pollutes the air. It pollutes our water. It pollutes everything. So for us to live healthy, we must first desist from that. Our people cannot continue to engage these people because the implication is very grave. So we don't want our people to do that.
While noting that private sector participant operators are enough to handle the job, the waste management boss blamed residents for patronizing cart pushers.
It's only that we have different sets of people dumping their waste indiscriminately. You have the truck pushers, you have our people too. And even our people are the ones engaging these people. They are the ones giving their waste to them. So in a situation where they don't engage these people, they go on the road to drop the waste by themselves. And you know what that means? It's going to cause pollution. I've always said it could cause leeches where you have, when there's rainfall, now it becomes worse. And our water will be polluted. And epidemic, we don't pray for it. We want our people to be, to cooperate with us.
She also appealed to the community leaders to collaborate with the PSPs in the fight against indiscriminate waste disposal to achieve a cleaner and healthier environment. However, observers say there is need for cart pushers and scavengers to be integrated into the waste management program of government in order to reduce the distance covered by the private sector participant operators and also give attention to the places not accessed by the mega operators. Abidemi Akinruntoye, Osrc News.
The federal government has approved the sum of $1.70 billion to improve governance and healthcare delivery for Nigerians under the Human Capital Opportunities for Prosperity and Equity, alongside the Interrelated Primary Healthcare Provision Strengthening Project. In a statement, Director Information and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, Mrs. Osagi Jacobs-Julie, said the health funding intervention was announced at the recent meeting of the Federal Executive Council. She explained that the HOPE PHC projects aim to improve utilization of quality essential healthcare services and health system resilience in the country. According to the statements, the HOPE PHC projects will be driven by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, while the HOPE governance projects will be anchored by the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. The Global Coalition Against Corruption Transparency International has scored Nigeria 36 points in its ranking as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Nigeria was joined by Uganda, Mexico, Madagascar, Iraq, and Cameroon in the same spot with a total score of 26 points. The list ranks Denmark as the least corrupt country with 90 points, Finland as second with 88 points, and Singapore as third with 84 points. The ranking released for 2024 Corruption Perceptions Index indicated that no African country made the top 10 very clean list, as it was dominated by European countries. However, Cape Verde tops the list of least corrupt African countries, despite being number 35 with 62 points. South Sudan, Somalia, and Venezuela are the most corrupt countries in the world for the year in review. South African politicians have met a special session to discuss the death of 14 soldiers in a peacekeeping mission in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. They were killed during fighting between the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels and Congolese forces. Kemisola Ojomo has more.
After South African soldiers were killed during recent fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo, members of parliament want to know why South Africa is involved in the conflict.
The distortion of facts is simply this, that we are going on a peacekeeping mission. No, we are not. We are going on a combat mission with no equipment, with no supplies, and our young people are being killed there.
In January, Rwanda-backed M23 rebel seized Goma, the country's largest city in the east. Rwanda President Paul Kagame denies backing M23. Last week, Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera ordered his military to withdraw from Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Some South African members of parliament want their country to do the same.
I have heard honorable members saying we must withdraw. And some of them have said we must do it now. I want to say that an abrupt withdrawal, as called upon by some in the House, is not even a tactical retreat. It is even worse than a surrender.
The worst escalation of fighting in more than a decade has killed thousands of people and displaced hundreds of thousands more since early January. The conflict in the DRC will be discussed at the African Union Summit in Ethiopia this week. African leaders are expected to again call for an end to the fighting. Kemisola Ojomo, Osrc News.
French President Emmanuel Macron says Europe needs to become more competitive in the world of artificial intelligence, AI. He's been speaking at the gathering of world leaders and tech executives in Paris. Ebunwa Akireje has the detail.
Artificial intelligence is rapidly reshaping our lives,
At an AI summit in Paris, Polytechnic leaders from around the world exchanged ideas and shared innovations.
This is our AI companion. It's called Amy, which is AI and me. So it's a little bit of play on words here. But ultimately, it's accessible to anyone that has a device.
The South African companies created a chat box that offers healthcare advice, particularly to teenagers who might not be able to access confidential help and care. Proof this developer says that AI can be a force for good.
I think there's a lot of misinformation around AI at the moment. There's also a lot of excitement and a lot of opportunity. The really big focus is around bridging the gap based on the tools that we have available and making it accessible. So it's around meeting people where they are. And I think the really important part of this is around education. It's around informing our users what is available and making sure that there is trust and there's credibility.
Nearly 80 world leaders are attending the summit, including U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. U.S. is competing with China to dominate the AI landscape. China's Vice Premier Zhang Guoqin met the event's host, French President Emmanuel Macron, at the Élysée Palace. Macron announced a more than $100 billion investment in AI in France. He says Europe must not be left behind in the AI race.
And because we are in this situation to clearly trigger a European move, we want to accelerate on two things. One, more Europe. For me, this summit is not just the announcement of a lot of investment in France. It's a wake-up call for a European strategy.
Europe traditionally wanted more rules, while some countries, including the US, regard regulation as stifling innovation.
It's important to regulate AI, but it's important to get the regulations right. And when that's hard, when the technology itself is not fully understood and it's so fast moving, and it also needs to be international because AI is going to affect all countries, the whole world.
Promoting more ethical, sustainable AI is also on the meeting's agenda, as well as more to convince a wary public that AI isn't a threat, but a tool that could improve their lives. Ebonluwa Akinroyeje, Osrc News.
And with our reports from the foreign scene, we conclude the news tonight. But before we go, a quick look at the top stories. We told you that security agencies in Ondo State have vowed to combat the growing menace of kidnapping and other criminal activities.